Good morning, everyone. It is 8 a.m. on December 9th, 2025. The market's not open yet. It's Tuesday, everyone. All right, let's jump into these markets. Let's go and catch up to where we were, where we left off, what happened, and what might possibly happen, right? So last we left off, we were over in this section right over here for the weekend. And this weekend, I was saying that there's going to be some kind of volume. The volume may turn off, right? I'm not really sure what was going to happen on the weekend, but usually the volume really shuts off. And something did happen this weekend that I'd love to point out to you guys. Okay, first of all, we are now bouncing off that break of structure, the one that we missed before. This is big, right? The reason why it's big is because we also have a what is that? The lower high, a lower high on the larger time frame. We've got a higher high, right? Right. Well, almost, right. And we got one higher high here, and it looks like we're starting to have some momentum, a real big change in direction. Like this is official at this point, right? That we've got something that's going on here. So the fact that we have landed on this break of structure that we missed before, remember this was the break of structure. It bounced off of this. It went above, did like this fake out over here into the weekend. It dropped down below, retested this order block right over here. It broke through that break of structure again, which is also the golden pocket, just so you know. So we keep that in mind, right? It went up to the top one, the major one that we need to break. This one right here. We need to break that one in order to do anything more. And when it came up here, it did the same exact thing as this break of structure. It actually rejected first, right? And when it came down here, it actually grabbed some, it consolidated and grabbed some strength and to bounce off of this break of structure. That is what we needed to see, okay? So let's go closer into the charts here. I want to go into a lower time frame because I want to show you what happened on the weekend. This is the weekend right here. Now, again, these candles are really broken up because something's going on with the Bybit chart. But this was Saturday. And notice, like, it didn't really move much. It really did just kind of like stay in the middle. But again, what it did was it created like a range, and then it started getting down to the bottom of the range, and we saw the same exact structure right over here. This was the same exact structure, where it created a range here. It started going down to the bottom of this right over here, and then it broke through. But because there was no volume on the weekend, it wiped people out over here. It went up and wiped people out over here, and then it went back down right over here. This looks like it was a news play, right? But it's really important to understand that when there's no volume in the charts, people can move this. Not people, but someone can. Right? And this move was very large. It wasn't a small move. So from here to here, this is about a 2% move. And from here to here, this is about a 2% move. Overall, this was a 5% move that moved, 4.5, I guess, right? And it really did take out people who are on high leverage. So it's really important to understand that the weekend becomes very tricky. But what we did get was this is that golden pocket break of structure that we were looking for some kind of support on, right? And after it did a fake out to the downside, it came back and it retested this area again, right? And now we seem to be moving away from it. So this is all a good sign that we're moving in a better direction, right? In the change of direction. Now, one of the things that I'm looking for again is we've got this channel that it's been stuck in for a while. So not only does it need to break this break of structure on this side, right? This is truly the high of the break of structure, and you can see it right over here. This little cluster of candles. Once it breaks this, then we've officially changed direction on the chart on a longer time frame, right? I am on the 12-hour. So as far as like, you know, all the other time frames before, we are definitely making, you know, there's a shift in character on the lower time frames, and once it starts getting to the higher time frames, that's when the whole market shifts completely, right? So that's what I'm looking for today. Okay, now I want you to keep in mind that we are still stuck in this range, right? So the range, like, we can't put the cart before the horse until we get above this the top of this range here. We can very well tap here, and then go right back down to the bottom. We could do that, even though there's a change of character, right? A range is still a change of character. We don't have to go from one trend line down to another trend line up. We don't have to do that. We could do one trend line down to a range first and then over. So as much as it's starting to feel very bullish, in my opinion, we are starting to really see some action here. You have to keep in mind that the downside is just as much of a potential as an upside, right? So this is the area to focus on. Now, I will say that I did take a long in this section. I did say in the last video that I would be concentrating on this section here, right over here, to see if I could take a long. I was looking at this section to take a long and this section to take a long. Now, understand this. This is still possible. This is still possible. But this is where I am right now as to take the opportunity, right? So if we do go up like this and then we don't break and we come back down over here, here's my plan for that what if, right? Same thing for here for what if. But at this point, these two areas, this zone and this zone, are feeling a little bit more of a future area to hit. Now, when I say that to you, I want you to understand that I'm not talking about a day from now, an hour from now. I'm not talking about a week from now. It could be months before we come back here, right? But eventually, we will come back here. And so I have this marked out. I will end up leaving this in the chart in some kind of way to say that, you know, we might be coming back to this zone. So if we do end up taking off, we hit all-time high, right? And then all of a sudden the market turns into a bear market and it starts coming down. It'll retest every single one of these zones, and these will be areas to kind of check out. So it's important to understand this, that if you see a pattern, I don't care what the pattern is, like this, right? So let's start with a trend line. If you see a trend line, the trend line goes like this, and then it may break, right? That is not the end of the move. That's important to understand. You see all of these patterns and charts that people lay out and stuff, and yeah, some of them are accurate, but you're not getting the full story, right? So the full story is that the trend line, once it breaks, it ends up coming back and retesting. And then it's got two options from there. The options are it either goes back down or it regains strength here. The same thing goes with a double top or a triple top, right? So if we've got this going and we've come over here and then it goes one touch and then two touch as a double touch, right? And then it starts going down, that's not the end of the move. There's more to it. And usually what happens is it comes over here and then it consolidates like so, and then it ends up going back to kind of like retest the areas that it went on. So this is kind of important to keep in mind, that when there's a move, it doesn't mean that, like, you know, you see people draw arrows like this, you know, you see people draw arrows like that. That's unrealistic. That's like, you know, it goes from a move that has like some kind of heartbeat to a linear line that doesn't do anything. So it just becomes a little bit deceiving there. So let's go take a look over at Ethereum real quick. Now, Ethereum is doing something much different than Bitcoin, which is kind of neat. It's kind of neat to see. And here it is right here. So first of all, I think let's leave that there for a second, right? So Ethereum came back down over to this section just like on the weekend, and it lost a lot of strength. And then there was a candle that whipped down. Now, I mentioned this on Friday when I recorded that it's going to take out a couple of candles. It was going to take this candle out and take this candle out over here, and it did. It did so. And we could take a look on the lower time frame. But here's the thing that I want to point out. We've got the channel that it's been in, and it tested over here, rejected. And now it's the first time that it's actually on the other side. It's on the other side of this trend line. Now, super important here, right? It is actually consolidating on the outside of this line. So that's good. If it does pop up, then it could come back down over here, test this area, and then work its way up. But at this point, Ethereum is giving a pretty solid signal that, yeah, we're in a kind of a really bullish stance here. Yeah, so I did take a short out, and I wanted to show you guys this trade. I took a short over here, and what I did was I ended up getting about a 80%, I think it was 80%. Yeah, this was my card right here. I took 80% profit on it over in here, especially in this candle, and I closed out the trade. Okay, but then I took a long. So on the long, I have also taken profit along the way as well. And this is my long that I picked up right over here. So I swapped out from a short to a long. So I went over here, got this. I took profit along the way, and then right over here, I closed it out. And then in this area right over here, once we started to grab some strength, I took a long, okay? And I was able to take some profit. Now, I used Bitcoin as the signal to get into this long because Bitcoin was already starting to make those moves, but both of them you could see have this a similar pattern to them. Now, I do want to take a closer look into the lower time frames for Ethereum so you can see what happened on the weekend as well. So here was the weekend. Look how tight that was. And just like on Bitcoin, there was a sharp move down, right? And it took out this candle. It took out this candle over here. Yeah, and it came down to the lower part of this range that I had going. And whoever caught this long, great. But as it went up here and started to consolidate back over here, this was my trigger. Remember, I said that if you see a move, usually what happens is it comes back to revisit, right? And you could get in that move again, and it did so. And now what it's doing is it has bounced. Let me use this color instead. It has bounced over here, came up, is consolidating on this line here, and it's actually making kind of a straight line across, right? So look, so if I were to do this, like make like a small range for you to see, like this is the range that it went into. Like it's consolidating in this area, but it includes this line here. So yeah, I think that there is some news about to happen. I think there's some news coming on tomorrow, so you got to be careful. These charts are really volatile, very, very volatile. These moves, I mean, this move right over here that Ethereum made, look at this. That was a 4.5% drop, and then it was a almost 3.5% move up, right? And this really wiped a lot of people out. So if you're playing high leverage, you got to be careful, especially right now, right? But on the bigger time frame, it is definitely feeling like we are we're about to hit a zone. So I am looking at this target right over here. This is it. This is the golden pocket that we laid out before. And if we do break this, especially this, we take this guy out. If we do break this, I would be looking for it to take a hook, like come around. It needs to grab, it needs to touch over here again, right? Because this is testing the resistance area, and then we can bounce up into the zone. Now, if we do go up and we miss that, then we're kind of in the same scenario that we were before with on Bitcoin, for example, where it needs to come back down and revisit. So these are the areas that I'm looking for. Now, again, I do have some targets down below, okay? These will still be in play, especially if it ends up coming up here and ripping back down. So I have my what if scenario, right? My what if scenario, if it goes up, I'm in a long already. If it goes down, I'm going to catch this, right? But I'm going to be paying attention to this spot right over here. This is my spot that I'm looking at. Yeah, the same thing goes for Ethereum, right? Let's take a look at the S&P 500 real quick. Yeah, it looks like we're still kind of like stuck in this, stuck in the zone. We're stuck on the top of this range here. But look at this pattern that it's making. Look at this. It's stuck in a channel. It looks like it's a flag, actually. I mean, you can look at that in two different ways, I guess, right? So this could be the flag right over here. This could be the range flag that it's forming right over here. And also, we've got this channel that's happening. But it looks like it's actually grabbing strength on this line. So maybe we pop up. Maybe we pop up over here. If we do pop up, that would make sense that Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to start to feel bullish, right? But again, look, once we get up to here, this is when people think that we're going to the moon, right? So you have to be very careful, be very, very careful. We are in the range until we break the range, and until then, anything can happen, right? Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Be safe. Again, you know, let me just summarize. I am looking to see it kind of like come up here and test this area right over here. If not, then I would be looking for a long in this area, and I would close out my long if we break any lower than the 50% line, because we definitely can come back to this 50% line and test it, just like I've mentioned before. We can come over here and we can test this 50% line and then go up, right? So that's where I'm at right now. Okay, guys, I hope you have a good day. I will try to make a video tomorrow before the news. I think there's an FOMC meeting tomorrow. I'm not really sure, but yeah, we should start to see some activity in these charts. But everything is starting to feel pretty good to me. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.